Welcome back to another episode of Accept, Then Achieve. I'm so honored to have our guest here today. Could you introduce yourself?
Actually, with pleasure. Thanks for having me on, Tony. My name is Faye Lawand, and I'm based in Auckland, New Zealand, and I'm an internal conflict resolution expert. And so I work with professionals who are suffering with poor mental health, exhaustion, pain, sleep issues. I help them to conquer the inner turmoil that's holding them back so that they can get back on track without medication, without talk therapy, without meditation, because that stuff does not work. And I'm sure you're nodding your head because I'm sure you've either observed it in your communities, you've observed it in your circles, you've observed it maybe in yourself, that this stuff, medication, meditation, and talk therapy, does not help to get us unstuck from these chronic conditions and these mental health issues that seem to be plaguing so many around the world unnecessarily. So that's what I do. That is my passion. It is my area of expertise. It's why I get up in the morning and what truly, truly lights me up.
Wow, that is amazing. I didn't know that even meditation didn't work. That's fascinating. Wow.
Well, meditation is a useful tool if your nervous system isn't completely dysregulated. Because when your system is completely dysregulated, you're so much in your head, it's neurologically impossible for you to be still and to observe because you're too wired. The system is absolutely too wired. It's not your fault. Your system is too wired, it's too agitated. And if you sit down to meditate, it's going to actually create more internal resistance. So you're going to end up having more of a story. Why can't I do this right? There must be something wrong with me. It works for everyone else. Why isn't it working for me? So it will put you more in that
Mm.
self-loathing, self-blame place, which is the worst thing for your nervous system. And the second thing is if your nervous system is so dysregulated, um, it's so much stuck in the past anyway, right? That's how
Mhm.
it got dysregulated because there's been so much past turmoil that hasn't been dealt with that your nervous system still believes that you're in that time when things were going all wrong. And so you'll sit down in meditation, you'll close your eyes and you'll replay everything that went wrong in the past, and you'll be in a ruminative state that is not going to be a helpful state to get you out of that stuck place to a place where there's more capacity for you to sit and observe your emotions and observe yourself. Yes, meditation is extremely useful, but it is not sufficient and it will not work to get you out of these stuck states. You need a completely different approach, a completely different solution, and that is to resolve what got the system stuck in the first place and work backwards from there. And that's what I do with my clients.
Wow. Could you explain more on that? Because that totally
Hmm.
was me trying to meditate and being like, I think I'm doing this wrong, and then feeling more shame about
It's
it.
all of us, yes, and that's me as well. And the thing was with meditation, it is I used to have this idea, this it's a myth, it's a preconception that when you meditate, uh, all thoughts cease to exist, and you go into this place of thought cessation. That is not possible. That is absolutely not possible. Now, possibly if you're like living a monastic life where you have very little sensory stimulation, very little, distraction around you, perhaps you can have moments of thought cessation. But as long as you have a human body, you have an embodied experience, you're in this world, you're consuming sensory information, you're dealing with people, you're having conversations, you're not going to succeed in thought cessation. It's not going to happen. So what you can aspire to with meditation, with time when your system is in a regulated place, is to slow down your thoughts, to become aware of your thoughts, to observe your thoughts and observe your emotions. Now that those are very different approaches to meditation than trying to completely shut down thoughts. So that's it on the meditation. And so if you feel if you feel you're not doing it right, or if you feel meditation isn't for you, just know that it's not you. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you. Your system, your nervous system, is not in a place where you should be meditating in order to get out of those stuck states. So what should you be doing instead is probably the
Mhm.
question you have on in your mind.
Yes.
So what you should be doing, what you should be doing instead are there's three things. So I've developed a mental health blueprint, which has three steps, which comes from my own journey of really like debilitating conditions through most of my adult life. So 16 years ago, I had my first burnout. And over the past 16 years, I've had three burnouts. And for anybody listening to this, you know that when you have burnout, it's not just about exhaustion and tiredness, although that's like the most obvious manifestation of a burnt out system. So usually burnout coexists with other health conditions. There's sleep disruptions, there's digestive issues, there's energy issues, your mood suffers, you might have chronic pain. Emotionally, it's very difficult to regulate. Maybe you're upset a lot of the time, you're emotional a lot, you're easily triggered, you're reactive, you have very, very, very toxic thoughts and very toxic emotions. And that's basically all of that coexists with burnout, because burnout is a nervous system state, it's not an energy state, right?
Mm.
And so I had a series of these burnouts through my adult life that meditation, talk therapy, and meditation did not resolve, right? And so this is why I went out in search of a solution that did work. And so actually, I never went on the medication, Tony, when they prescribed medication to me to help with depression and I had post-traumatic stress disorder. They actually did prescribe medication, but I said no to that right away. The talk therapy, I thought, oh yeah, it's worth a shot to, see what kind of psychological distress might be contributing to my physical symptoms and my mental health struggles. But I mean, I went to like a few sessions and never went back because I mean, I would feel worse coming out of the therapy than I did walking in, because I'd go to the therapy and would just repeat over and over and over again everything that wasn't working in my life and how bad I felt. And so I never actually felt that I had a path forward with these sessions. And so I
Mhm.
stopped it all. I stopped the therapy. I said no to the medication. But, that's not a very good place to be in, when you feel so bad. The solutions on offer don't work, but you don't know what else to do. I mean, I didn't know what to do. I had absolutely no idea, no system, no blueprint, no process, no coach, no mentor, no community, no accountability. I just had to figure it out for myself. And so I started studying and learning and researching and applying the stuff on myself because I wanted a solution that was natural, no side effects, holistic, that worked, that is good for me, that's cost effective, and that really gets to the root cause of what's been ailing me. And it took a long time and successive burnouts because I didn't know what I was doing, right?
Mm.
And eventually, sorry about that. And eventually, when all my symptoms disappeared, vanished, and everything came right, I went back and I encoded everything that worked on my journey and I put it together in a package system, a roadmap, a blueprint, 3 steps of going from poor mental health, exhaustion, and pain to a place of calm, health, vitality, calm, confidence, joy, and being in control again. And so those 3 steps are support your nervous system, conquer the inner turmoil, and eliminate chronic stress. And so, what do each of these entail? When you're working with supporting the nervous system, it's got to be the first step, actually. It's got to be the first step because all of these symptoms are coming back because the nervous system becomes dysregulated. It becomes so out of balance, so out of whack that nothing works in the way nature intended it to. So you need to start at that nervous system level and work upwards and create a foundation of safety, create a foundation of regulation. And when you create that foundation of regulation by creating a safe space and bringing in active relaxation techniques in order to enable the body's calm. And you regulate the biology, and you regulate the circadian rhythms, and you regulate sleep, and you regulate the relationship with coffee, caffeine, and alcohol, then you're able to create capacity in the nervous system to go a little bit deeper so that the deep inner works in a way that is fast, smooth, easy, and without re-traumatizing you, right? When your system is anchored in safety, then it will be ready to purge and release and let go very, very easily. And so the next phase of the blueprint is resolving the inner turmoil, like conquering the inner turmoil. That starts with mastering the subconscious, because all of this stuff is actually stored in the subconscious. Like nobody wakes up in the morning and says, "Oh, today I think I'm going to have panic attacks. Today I'm going to have migraine headaches. Today I'm going to have shameful self-talk. Today I'm going to feel like I'm not good enough." Like nobody wakes up and commits to that. Nobody,
Mm-hmm.
but all of that is very subconscious. It comes from the part of the mind, the part of the subconscious that functions very differently to our conscious logical brain. And if we want to find freedom from these conditions, we need to start working with the subconscious mind, mastering it, learning about it, how it works, how it's different from the conscious mind, what its jobs are, how to speak to it, when to speak to it, how to program it, how to reprogram it. So essential. And then we need to work on root cause. What are the root causes that led the system to this place of turmoil, to this place of mess, chaos, and confusion, where nothing is working the way it needs to? And that's root cause therapy, like figuring out, and you don't do this consciously, right? You need to be guided to it. It's a process to the early experiences, the adverse experiences, the traumatic experiences, the emotionally overwhelming experiences that created the system to go into the shutdown mode. And you need to rescript those. You need to change the way those memories and those events are stored inside the brain.
Mm-hmm.
Really important. And then the next step of the blueprint is eliminating chronic stress. Now, notice my choice of language. I'm not saying manage stress. I'm saying eliminating chronic stress. You go to doctors, or you go to medical practitioners, or the general consensus is we need to manage our stress in order to be healthy, because stress is a killer. Well, all of that is untrue. I mean, we've been hypnotized to believe that. We've been brainwashed to believe that. That's not true, because actually stress is not villainous. Like there's nothing inherently wrong with stress. I mean, stress is a mobilizing response. We need stress in order to adapt, to get things done, in order to move through life, right? You think about anything that you've achieved through life, you didn't do it in your zened out state. There's nothing problematic about stress, nothing, absolutely nothing. And we are wired to come down from stress after the body secretes stress hormones in order to mobilize us. We're wired to come down from that to a nice place of calm and ease and homeostasis, and to do away with the wear and tear. Like we're totally programmed to do that. The body, the nervous system know how to do that. But what happens is, the reason why so many of us are carrying around chronic stress is either, well, it's a number of things. It's either we don't know that we need to downregulate, like after a busy day, a busy week, a busy period, after really like big, heavy, uncomfortable conversations, after a big deadline, a big project, after a bad breakup. We don't know, or we don't take the time to reset from that, to take the foot off the brake pedal, off the gas pedal. Or we kind of don't prioritize it, or we don't give it enough importance, or we don't know how to reset. So eventually the gas eventually the system runs out of gas. And so the system goes into this perpetual biology of stress hormones.
Hmm.
And that's what's problematic. That's what we need to eliminate. The chronic stress, we actually need to stop that and eliminate that, not manage it. We don't need to manage chronic stress. We eliminate chronic stress and we manage the other stress. But part of changing your relationship to stress is changing your mindset around it, changing your subconscious programs. We've all been brainwashed, and educating yourself about the new science of stress that comes out of Stanford University by the work of Kelly McGonigal and her colleague Alicia Bloom, that actually tells us how to utilize stress as a fuel, not a foe, how to actually utilize stress as an advantage. It educates us on how there are more than one stress response. There's more than one stress response than the old fight, flight, freeze that we've been taught to avoid and brainwashed to avoid and think that is villainous. There's actually multiple stress responses, new modern stress responses that are extremely helpful and extremely healthy. So educating ourselves about those and changing our old subconscious programs about stress, plus resolving the inner turmoil, completely helps to eliminate chronic stress, to remove that chronic persistent biology and biochemistry of stress that is problematic. And so the 3 steps to the mental health blueprint that serve as an alternative, a very powerful alternative to medication and talk therapy and meditation, are support the nervous system, conquer the inner turmoil, and eliminate chronic stress. And doing them in this sequence is quite important. And Tony, now, I mean, I've been doing this now for a number of years, and it's actually been a perfected, refined process that is fail proof. I offer a money back guarantee on my programs. I've never issued a refund a single time, not a single time in 6 years of doing this work. And it's all done, dusted in 3 months or less, like the absolute longest that it takes to come right from these conditions. I mean, this is like if they're really, really chronic, it's 3 months. But like on average, it's like 6, 8, maybe 10 weeks at tops. And yeah, it does feel like a miracle. Like my clients, when I do exit interviews with them at the end, and they talk to me about the program, they're like, I feel like this is a miracle. I feel like this is like counseling on steroids. Like, why is this not the first point of call when things go wrong? And yeah, I mean, why isn't it? I mean, there are many reasons why it isn't. But that's why I'm so passionate about it, because it works. There's no reason to suffer with these debilitating conditions. There's absolutely no reason. When there's a way to do it that is powerful, fail-proof, natural, holistic, has no side effects, long-lasting, and works for you.
Wow, yeah, that sounds amazing. And thank you for sharing all the components and things about it. May I ask, is it like a self-paced program, or will they need to work with you or your team through the guided?
So I don't have a team for the delivery side of things. I have a team to do like more tech side of things. So I do all of this. But now I'm starting to train other therapists to do the work that I do. And so there's a hybrid way that you can do it. There's definitely like a group situation where we're working together in a supportive community, which is important, accountability. And yes, there are some self-paced modules and some things that you listen to, but like the community and coming together with a guide it's actually quite important. And for the inner work, definitely we do it together with me, because you do need someone to guide you, to guide the mind through the process of releasing the inner turmoil that is keeping the system stuck. And that's me doing it for now,
Mhm.
until I train, a new generation of therapists to do this work.
I see. Oh, so you were a more traditional talk therapist before? What was your background before
So
you
my
discovered?
background actually is in teaching and training in education, in pedagogy, teaching, training, professional development, and you know, I have those very transferable skills of working with human potential, talking, communicating, educating. That comes very naturally to me. Developing human potential that way was very transferable. So that's kind of my background. And as I mentioned, it was, doing this work has come out of my own personal journey of, these chronic conditions that were so debilitating that now I've used my life journey and my life lessons with the soft skills of being able to talk about it, train people in it, develop human potential, coach and mentor in order to help people, move to the next level.
I see. Wow. Who was your guide who guided you through the subconscious? I'm curious.
Well, the thing is, I didn't have guides. I didn't have this is why it took 16 years.
Hmm.
Eventually I found some good therapists, but it was very piecemeal. It was a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there, searching for the right therapist with the right approach, with the right methodology, because there's a lot of people out there doing trauma uninformed therapy. So yes, they'll
Mhm.
take you back to uncover, the root cause, but like uncovering it isn't enough. Like if you uncover it and you don't rescript it and you don't clean it up and you don't close the memory, you're actually creating more harm. So yeah, I
Mhm.
went to multiple therapists and actually, yes, sure, they helped me uncover what the issues were, but they didn't help me resolve the issue. And this is why it's called internal conflict resolution. It's about resolving the internal conflict, not just identifying it. Got to resolve it. And by resolving it, I mean taking the stored memory that's in the tissues, that's in the body, that your conscious mind is not even aware of, taking it out of the tissues, out of the body, out of the biology, and storing it in the appropriate memory centers in the brain, primarily the hippocampus, so that it's no longer triggering, so that the body is no longer reliving that experience over and over again, although it's complete. And so the process of resolving it is actually telling the body that the event is finished, it's in the past, and that you're safe now and it's okay to move forward. There's a process to do that, but ultimately that's what you want to do. You want the body to believe that that situation is over, that the shaming that happened in the past, the put downs that happened in the past, the humiliation that happened in the past, the bullying that happened in the past, that it is in the past, and now it's done over and done with, and it's safe to move forward. Until the body believes that, it doesn't matter how many affirmations you do, it doesn't
Mhm.
matter how much visualization you do, it doesn't matter how much CBT you do, it doesn't matter how much journaling you do, the stubborn issue will persist.
Hmm. I understand that. So it was really from trial and error, not just one specific guide or person who showed you how to reprogram
Yeah,
or
I
how
mean,
to
see
resolve.
all of those all of those diplomas behind me, and I have like, you know, double the amount in the wardrobe because they literally don't fit. It was through a lot of study, a lot of research, and and then eventually piecing it together. Because here's the thing, like there's a lot of great modalities out there. There's some
Mhm.
excellent modalities out there, each of which definitely have their place. Tapping is incredible. Havening is amazing. Somatic sensing is incredible. CBT is incredible. Yoga is very powerful. Meditation, iris, yoga nidra, access bars, NLP, timeline, all of these are wonderful tools. Wonderful, wonderful tools. But they're not they're not integrative enough, right? And
Mhm.
what do I mean by that? Because when you're suffering with a mental health issue or a chronic issue, it literally is all encompassing. It affects your lifestyle, it affects your body, it affects your emotions, it affects your mind, your subconscious mind, and your nervous system. And so you need a solution that is integrative, that works with the body, lifestyle, mind, nervous system, and emotions. And this is why those modalities, they work on one of these layers or one of these levels, but they don't address all of the levels. And the mental health blueprint is very integrative. It draws from all of these modalities that I've trained in, I've practiced, I've worked with and worked through, and it takes the best of all of these modalities and seamlessly puts it together in one sequence, in one plan called the mental health blueprint, in order to address the lifestyle, the body, the emotions, the mind, the subconscious mind, and the nervous system, so that you can overcome this stuff quickly and easily.
Yeah, wow. It is definitely important to have a holistic and integrative approach, as you had mentioned.
Yeah.
Part of the podcast, we like to ask people to share maybe something practical or an exercise that the listeners can implement right away after
Yeah.
listening.
Yes, I would say your listeners may not like this, Tony, but a foundational practice for positive mental health, or positive well-being, particularly in our fast-paced modern world, is digital discipline.
Hmm.
In today's fast-paced, over-connected world, we don't stand a chance of living well and peacefully and calmly if we're plugged in 24/7, and if we don't actively do something to detach and disconnect from the technology. And by technology, I mean all of it. I mean, of course, the social media, I mean the emails, I mean the news, I mean the notifications, the surfing, the Netflixing, I mean all of it. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it because it means stepping outside their comfort zone, because they've become so habituated to living in this constantly plugged in, overactive, overstimulated way. But it is impossible for us to have the type of life that we want if we're living that way. And if you haven't already done so, I would really recommend watching that documentary on Netflix called The Social Dilemma.
Hmm.
And have you seen it?
Yes, it's crazy.
And this is by the designers of the algorithms of Facebook and
Hmm.
all these meta platforms. They knew when they were designing the algorithms that those algorithms will create poor mental health. This is by the actual creators of it, right?
They still
And
did
yeah,
it.
sure, you can say they probably never actually anticipated that these platforms would be what they are today. But
Hmm.
I mean, that's a pretty powerful testament about what happens if we don't bring mindfulness to this behavior of consuming these technologies. Because here's the thing: when we're consuming these technologies, we're stimulated, like our brains are still working, the brainwave frequency is still activated and it's still elevated and it's still at this high beta level.
Hmm.
But when the states, the internal states that we want, that correspond to well-being, they don't occur at this very hyperactive beta stage of brainwave frequency. They occur at slower brainwave frequencies like alpha, like theta, like delta. And so if we're constantly consuming the stuff, we are in this activated mental state. And also, what happens when we're in this activated mental state, especially when we're consuming this stuff, we're basically externalized. We're consuming other people's thoughts, agendas, emotions. We're not connected to ourselves and our
Hmm.
own internal resources. And over time, when you externalize over a long period of time, you end up stripping away your connection to your um, innate sense of happiness, joy, and well-being. So I cannot uh, 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 highlight enough the importance of practicing some digital discipline if you're serious about living a better life.
Absolutely. So how many hours do you recommend max per day?
Well, I mean, the more the more the better, but we need to be realistic, right? Because,
Mhm.
I mean, we do live in a very, plugged in digital world, and we're never going to go back to the way that we lived. But I would recommend, especially around the time of sleep, like right before sleep and right after we wake up, like it is especially crucial in those times that we bring some real mindful awareness and attention to what we're doing. And so I start with my clients, I say, at least could you do 5 minutes on either end of sleep? At the very, 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 very least. And
Mhm.
use those 5 minutes on either end of sleep to do something that is more empowering for yourself. Like, because in those moments right before sleep and right after we wake up, when the brainwaves slow down, we're actually in our subconscious. We're in our very programmable state of mind. And so using that time to connect to what we want instead, or visualize what we want instead, or reflect or review on the day, or practice some gratitude or body sense, or connect to our breath, or like to do something like really for ourselves that internalizes us. If we use that time on either end of the sleep cycle when we're in a programmable state to work on ourselves and connect with ourselves and internalize, the transformation is so powerful and does not take long. Like, I would challenge your listeners to do this, to try this out, to trial it for 1 week and notice the difference that you feel, and how much better you feel in just 1 week.
Hmm. Thank you so much for that concrete tip here. As we're getting to our last few minutes, I guess I wanted to also ask, like, what advice would you have for your younger self after now overcoming all the burnout and all of the dark, rough moments in your life? And what were some key turning points or other things?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And I think the advice that I would have for her is basically the work that we end up doing in therapy, and that I now hear all my clients tell me as we're doing this inner work clearing and inner child healing. There's nothing wrong with you. You're
Mhm.
perfect the way you are. You are okay. Everything is going to be okay. Believe in yourself. And I know it sounds like fluff. I know it does. But really, going against that advice is what gets us into trouble in the first place and keeps us in trouble.
Mhm.
These false identities that there's something wrong with us, that we're broken, that we're incomplete, that we don't measure up, that we're not good enough. These are falsehoods. They're complete falsehoods. It's a false identity that we create
Mhm.
in moments of duress, in moments of distress, in moments of overwhelm. And when we do the inner work and we clear out whatever overwhelmed us, that identity, that narrative also fades away, because that narrative came up as a coping mechanism when we couldn't cope. And
Mhm.
so that's the advice I would give my younger self, and that's the advice I would give to anybody listening is, to really explore and nurture a relationship with yourself that allows you to really know inside yourself that you're whole, that you're complete, that there's nothing wrong with you, that you are good enough, that you are worthy, that you are of value.
Absolutely. And that goes along so well with this whole podcast theme of just accepting yourself
Yes,
unconditionally. Yeah.
100%.
And not attaching to external measurements or
Yeah.
milestones, but yeah, your worth. So, in these last few minutes, then, how can people find you, connect with you, and work with you potentially? And any other final thoughts you'd like to share?
Yeah, sure, Tony. So, my website and my social media channels are all my name, Faye Lawand. My website is faylawand.com. And I have actually a 30-day complimentary 30-day nervous system well-being calendar, which I'm very happy to share with you. You can link to your listeners. And I also offer a 30-minute complimentary consultation where we can meet online via Zoom, talk about what's going on for you, and map out a way forward so that either you can do this work with yourself, with another practitioner, if you don't want to do it with me, so you know exactly what you need to tackle and in what order, in order to get to where you want to go. And so those are also done online via Zoom, and they're complimentary. So just go onto my website or send me an email, faye@faylawand.com, and we can go from there.
Wonderful. I will put all those into the show notes. Any last thoughts or comments that you wanted to say to the listeners today?
Thank you, Tony, for having me on. And thank you for what you're doing in the world as a change agent, because really it does take a village. And the more that we, work on ourselves and make our world a better place, that has a positive trickle down effect to making the world a kinder, happier place, because that's my ultimate mission. It's that whole wisdom from Mahatma Gandhi that goes something like this: be the change that you want to see in the world. um, I mean, really, politicians don't change the world, governments don't change the world. Really, they don't. Wars don't solve problems, sanctions don't solve problems, diplomatic interventions don't solve problems. So really, the only way to resolve conflict, the way that I see it, is to deal with the internal conflict that is creating these struggles in your external world. And that then has a positive trickle down effect and makes you a better parent, a better boss, a better girlfriend, a better friend, a better mother, a better daughter, a better parent, a better leader, a better boss, a better employee. And that's how we change the world, one
Absolutely.
person at a time.
Yes, and starting with ourselves. Thank you so much again for coming on as a guest
Such a
today. And
pleasure. It's so nice to connect with you, Tony. Thank you for having me on.
yes, and thank you. We'll end the episode now. Bye, everyone.